Hi, I want to say thank you to Xinhua for both organizing the panel and allowing me to participate virtually. So it's good to be here or be there or be Erwan. This is a paper I did with my graduate student Betsy Brunner, who's now at Idaho State University. The title, Social Media as Pharmacon in China, Enabling Environmental Activism, Promoting Daily Disconnect. Okay, this idea of the pharmacon comes from Derrida's famous essay on Plato's the Phaedrus called Plato's Pharmacy. And the pharmacon functions as a drug, right? Both cure and poison. And so we're thinking of media, and especially social media, that way with respect to environmentalism. So industrialism and industrial technology give birth to environmentalism. Here's an example of Carlton Watkins' Yosemite photos that helped save Yosemite as the world's first wilderness park in 1864. Ansel Adams carried on that tradition, so the medium of photography has long been an important weapon for environmentalism. Some of his famous shots include this and this photo here of the Grand Tetons. Greenpeace also uses modern technology, in this case using the mine bomb on video to save whales. A similar dynamic has happened in China. China has exploded in terms of industrialism. Here's an example of the city of Shenzhen, a fishing village of around 25,000 people 36 years ago. Today, it's a city of over 14 million people, and this has happened all over China. And China has become a country where half of the country's 700 million people live in urban areas. So it has become highly urbanized. Along with that, we have an explosion of China's mediascape. To the year 2000, almost no internet users, to today, where there's 700 million internet users, 198 million Weibo users, 700 million WeChat users. WeChat is actually a better social media platform than pretty much anything in the US. And then over 800 million QQ accounts. We see that most of this is being accessed, or the majority is being accessed via smartphones, so very mobile. So everyone has in their pocket their access to the internet world. QQ has more users than LinkedIn, Twitter, and Instagram combined, so just enormous amounts of people. And this social media saturation in the urban areas of China has intensified and aided and enabled all sorts of environmental activism. And so while there used to be fewer than 10,000 environmental activist protests in 1994, nowadays there's well over 100,000. Some people estimate well over 200,000 protests a year. Qidong was a famous example a few years ago where they were protesting chemical pipeline that was going to go into the coastal waters, and Qidong's a major fishing area. The social media then intensifies people power, and we see kind of the actual kind of in the world protests going on here, embodied protests. And I love this example here where you have kind of people power hollowing out the bureaucracy. But this protest, right, was kind of gathered people together, connected people through social media. So things like this, these posters and stuff, they appeared on the streets, but they also appeared in people's social media platforms. And it says here, no environment, no future, and it's wake up, a very good kind of Badu quote, wake up, right? The future is here now, do something, act. And so social media connections enabled people to get together and protest even if they don't have a constitutionally protected First Amendment. A more recent example is a movie documentary, Under the Dome, put together by a former journalist who put it together with her own money, right? So Chai Jing put together this documentary on pollution in China, which is a problem we've all heard about here in the United States. And it went viral on social media in China, right? So within 24 hours, there were 14 million views on Youku, and 35 million more views on places like WeChat, Weibo, and so on. Within 1 week, there was 300 million views and was shared over 650 million times on Weibo. And this actually led the Chinese government to censor the video, the documentary, Under the Dome. But of course, it was too late by then. People had shared it, people had downloaded it, and so on. So it was impossible to censor, which is one of the great benefits of social media. Okay, a quick time out. This is like the halfway point. All of this is happening, all this activism in the context of a real ecological disaster, the 6th great extinction. So normally 1 to 5 species go extinct a year. Right now it's 1 to 50,000, and the fact that we don't know is also telling. And by the year 2050, up to 50% of all species now alive will be gone. Okay, and so this leads me to kind of like the pharmacon, the poison part of social media. So we're talking about the good part, the cure, how social media enables activism. The bad part is this pan-mediation kind of leads to a world where people live online. So we live in the mobile spaces of multiple media. A medium at a certain scale becomes the environment of our awareness and the boundary of our imagination. Life without cell phones becomes unimaginable. So it's no longer a tool with which we do things, but it becomes essential to living itself. So we end up trapped in a techno-soliloquy. iPhone, therefore I am. And this is one of the saddest pictures I've ever seen. The future. So social connect leads also to social disconnect, which is the sight that we've all seen if we use public transport, if we're out and about in cities, not just in China, but all over the world. It also leads to a nature disconnect. In the United States, we talk about it as nature deficit disorder, where 95% of all children do not play outside kind of on their own. And they spend 60 hours a week or more on media. So connected to the various public screens of their lives. And they check their social media account over 100 times a day. So it shows like where their head is, where their mind at, where their attention is. People in China have the same problem. So in China's 60 largest cities, so we're talking hundreds of millions of people here, 70% of their leisure time is spent on the internet. And it's become such a problem in China that for teenagers, there's a whole bunch of internet addiction detox camps. So what happens when the world becomes picture? Right? Immersed in a torrent of images, does nature become simply another image, just a backdrop for us? Here we see nature disconnect in what they call the Avatar Mountains of China, where those mountains aren't beautiful enough. What those mountains really need is us in the picture. So the earth becomes, in the end, displaced by selfies. Nature is reduced to a mere backdrop for human self-absorption. Okay, this is obviously an image at Yosemite. And the question is this a problem? So that the Great Wall itself is dangerous, not because it's the Great Wall, but because it's a site free of social media platforms. And so this kind of playful image says, do not enter, because you'll be abandoning your social media. But what if the real fundamental issue is that environmentalism is a series of events with wilderness and nothing else besides that? So technologically mediated wilderness, pictures, et cetera, are not enough for us to care about the larger world. If that's the case, then very much so, media is a pharmacon, both a cure and a poison. The end. Thank you very much.